pitch. Swing and a miss. Struck him out. The Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
Lining up Adrian Noble, and here it comes. Kick. Connects.
Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
October 21st, 2020. The Best Friends are wrestling on AEW Dark, episode 58. Out come their opponents, two guys making their tag debut, Max Caster and Anthony Bowens, who have appeared on Dark before with other competitors, but are now thrown together. And this is clearly evident to the audience, as the two come out and cannot look any different from one another. Bowens has a simplistic gear, some white and orange trunks and boots. Caster, on the other hand, is over the top. Silver jacket, a big chain, a microphone wrapped around his neck, and trunks with musical notes all over them. Now, in the time of watching, nobody thinks much of these guys. Just two enhancement talents thrown together to give the Best Friends another victory to continue their ascent up the rankings. But it's clear from the start that there's something bigger at hand. See, with Caster, he begins to rap. He fires shots at the Best Friends, and he even has a bar that includes a subtle dig at Trent's past persona in the WWE. But to me, like I said, there's something bigger at hand. And it's the first line to me that now lives in infamy. That's Anthony Bowens. I'm Platinum Max. We are critically acclaimed. From here on, the two would start seeing more time on AEW Dark. In the next episode, you could see Tony Khan had a vision for these two. They still don't have all the pieces, but slowly but surely, improvements are being made. Though they have no tag name or matching gear, the pieces are coming together. Caster again refers to the two as the Acclaimed, and this time he is given a beat to rap over. Again, he demonstrates his mic potential, dishing out jabs so brutal that the commentary team starts to laugh and calls it a burial. 2 episodes later, the two finally make their first appearance officially under the tag name of the Acclaimed. But not just that. This appearance is the one that confirms that Tony Khan sees so much more in them than just two random talents. They make their arrival, and it's the entire package. The two have a tag name, they now have matching gear, and they now have a certified entrance song that perfectly goes with their gimmick, as it includes a short instrumental break section where Caster can do his raps over a beat. Not to give too much of a spoiler, but it's crazy to look back on this entrance happening during the pandemic era and think that this is the first time we hear that siren that would later come to blow the roofs off arenas. And Tony Khan himself clearly saw that potential as well, because in Caster's rap it is revealed that the two have officially signed with AEW and are here to stay. And it wouldn't be long until their impact was made. Under the new name, the duo would mainly compete on Dark and would rack up wins. But their next challenge would be the first true test. It's their Dynamite debut, and their opponent tonight is SoCal Uncensored, with the team tonight composed of Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels. To say the Acclaimed are at a disadvantage heading into this match is kind of an understatement. At the time of this match, Daniels and Kazarian had about a combined 49 years of experience between the two of them. Daniels with 27 and Kazarian with 22. But the two are able to pull the impossible off. Caster nails Daniels in the head with his boombox, and Bowens is able to secure the win. Another win, and a win on their first ever Dynamite. The future looks bright, and they don't have to wait long. After their match with SCU, the Acclaimed provoked the Young Bucks into putting the tag titles on the line the very next week on Dynamite. Second Dynamite match ever for the Acclaimed, and it's a match for the tag titles. An impressive rise so far. But if SCU had quite the steep advantage over the Acclaimed, then the Young Bucks are basically out of their range. Listing all their achievements would take its own video, so put simply, Any company they walk into, they're basically guaranteed to have critically acclaimed match after match and win some type of gold. The two teams go back and forth, with the Young Bucks showing the experience gap between the two. Intricate tag offense, knowing when to tag in and out, isolating the legal badge from his partner. The Acclaimed slowly realize they can't win this battle traditionally. As the two teams trade blows and super kicks, Caster moves out of the way and the referee is knocked out with the kick. Caster then low blows Nick Jackson, and then Bowens hits him with the boombox. This is their moment. 2 months into their debut, and they're about to win the tag titles. Except we don't have a referee. And once the new referee comes in, Nick has already recovered and is able to kick out. The two try to finish Nick with a signature move of the Bucks, but Matt comes in and stops it. Matt is then able to powerbomb Bowens through the ringside table and then help his brother finish off Caster in the ring with a BTE trigger for the win. Inches away from infamy. From here on out, the Acclaim will go on to be featured prominently across Dark and Dynamite, and mixing it up with the best of AEW's tag division as the year goes on and into the new year. However, controversy would strike. It's the 100th episode of AEW Dynamite. Much like most episodes of Dark... It's the 100th episode of AEW Dark. Much like most episodes of Dark, it was previously taped, which makes the subsequent controversy even more confusing. The Acclaim will make their way down to the ring for an 8-man tag, and Caster would get on the mic to rap like he's always done. Except, put simply, many felt the lines Caster dealt out this time were crossing the line. He made jokes about Simone Biles' mental health and a reference to the Duke lacrosse controversy. Many asked, how was this rap approved? How was it not seemingly cut out? With no other clear option at hand, Tony Khan would suspend Max Caster without pay, say he'd do a better job at reviewing talent's promos ahead of time, and even take a more involved role in production to make sure nothing like this would slip through again. Though the Acclaim weren't involved in any big-time storylines at the time, this was a serious halt of their momentum. They'd appear on one final taping of Dark, and from there were gone for the entire month of August. The future for these two men now looked grim. So grim, in fact, that there was a point during August where Caster was selling his gear and claiming that he needed the extra money and likely wouldn't be needing the gear in the near future. But, as we'd come to expect from this team, they do not give up easily. The duo would make their return a month later and were back to their usual antics. Caster would come out with a paper in hand and state that the following rap was approved and written by AEW management. The rhymes would include promotion for the Jacksonville Jaguars and a new show, Roads to the Top. Bowens would cut the music and ask, "Are they scripting our promos?" Caster would then rip up the paper and go forth with his rap, claiming that he'll try not to be so offensive. It's going to take some time to regain momentum, but it's this moment that I look at as the beginning of the Acclaimed's meteoric rise to becoming AEW's top babyface tag team. The Acclaim will receive a title shot a couple of weeks later, which they'd lose. The match went about 6 minutes, so there isn't much of note to cover there. The team would finish the year with appearances all over AEW's programs such as Dark, Dark Elevation, Dynamite, and Rampage. But it isn't until the start of the new year that sees a moment that would change the trajectory of the Acclaim forever. AEW Dark episode 127, the Acclaimed are in an 8-man tag match and they are teaming with the Gun Club, consisting of Austin Gunn, Colton Gunn, and their manager/father, Billy Gunn. The reason this random match is so significant is because it would lead to an alliance between two teams and a story that would be built around disrespect and familial issues. Now, the alliance doesn't happen yet. They team again on Dark Elevation, but the next month see the Acclaim do more of the same. Challenge for the tag titles, have various matches on all programs. Nothing much of note though. But with every appearance, the reactions are getting louder and louder. Momentum is being gained once again. That is until tragedy strikes in May of 2022 that year. Bowens would suffer a knee injury and announced it a couple days after his match where he and Caster once again teamed up with the Gun Club. Once again, it seems momentum for the Acclaimed has been halted. As Bowens put in his announcement, 1 step forward, but 2 steps back. Or so you would think. See, after this injury, to keep the two on TV and help the momentum of another team, Caster would begin competing in trios matches with the Gun Club. It was a deal that drastically helped both teams. It kept the Acclaimed on TV, gained sympathy for the team as crowds saw Billy Gunn wheel Bowens out on a wheelchair, and helped the Gun Club improve their comedic chops. See, the addition of the Gun Club added so much to the dynamic. Caster would come out and rap now with 3 guys to hype him up. Colton and Austin would then take a crack each week at trying to announce the city they were in, only to constantly get it wrong. And in turn, this would set up Bowens to get a big pop as he correctly exclaimed the city in which they were in. They would team for about a month across different programs, and it was around this time in May and June that the Gun Club would begin to ramp up, their feud with Danhausen. One thing I forgot to mention early is that at the start of the year, when he was a free agent, Danhausen started this social media feud with the Guns. He enticed the crowd into calling the two the Ass Boys. He gave them this nickname because during his time as an active wrestler, their father Billy Gunn had the nickname of the Ass Man. Remember earlier when I said the Acclaimed first team with the Guns on Dark at the start of the year? Yeah, Caster referred to them as the Ass Boys as well. In fact, in every appearance together, he refers to them as that. And every time, it's clear that the two aren't the happiest about it. At the AEW New Japan Pro Wrestling Forbidden Door pay-per-view, Danhausen would give the Guns their own custom theme, and it would lead to the Guns abandoning their father and Caster alone in a 2 versus 4 situation in favor of tracking down Danhausen. This would lead to a trios match where the Guns and Caster faced off against FTR and Danhausen at AEW Blood and Guts. In the finish of the match, Bowens would get in the ring, revealing that he was fully healed. He tried to strike Danhausen with a crutch, but hit Austin by accident, costing them the match. Afterwards, the two teams get into a heated affair, and the segment ends with Billy pushing his own son to the ground, seemingly backing the Acclaim. It would all come to a head the very next week on Dynamite. The two teams work together again and win in quick fashion. But things are clearly off from the beginning. The Guns stop Caster from rapping, they refuse to tag either Caster or Bowens into the match, and they steal the winning pinfall from them. As the two teams argue, the Guns finally attack, and once again Billy Gunn interferes. See, Billy has been around these two teams and sees the potential in them teaming. He's gotten to the close to the Acclaim at this time. He has a whole bit going with Bowens, and he wants to see the two teams succeed and work together. Or does he? After separating the two and yelling at his boys, he turns around and clotheslines Caster. He refuses to do the scissor motion with Bowens and hits him with a Famouser instead. The disrespect is no longer being tolerated. From here, the two teams would begin their feud. The feud would see brawls between the two and even a rap battle. The culmination would be a dumpster match between the two teams. The two teams would go back and forth with one another, utilizing all sorts of weapons. The finale sees Caster hit an elbow drop on one of the Guns through a table from the top of the stage. The two Guns are then thrown into the dumpster and then pushed off the stage, an homage to what Billy did in WWF with his tag partner years ago. But that's not the end of this story. See, the next week on Rampage, the Gun Club beat Danhausen in a tag match, but their father is not impressed. He even goes as far as to call them Ass Boys and says that he misses the Acclaimed. The next week on Dynamite, they once again get a quick win, and this time Billy is impressed. But it's too late. The two still turn on their father and align themselves with Stokely Hathaway. They beat down their father until the siren sounds. Out come the Acclaim to rescue Billy Gunn. Afterwards, after some thinking, the three men unite, and it could not have come at a better time. See, the following week, Billy faces off against Colton, and after the match, the Guns beat down on Billy and the Acclaim. This provokes the tag champions Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland to come to their rescue. After, we get an interview backstage where the champs hype up the Acclaim, say they've seen, their rise, and want to give them an opportunity to challenge for the tag titles at AEW's next pay-per-view, All Out. This is their fourth time challenging for the tag titles. They have all the momentum in the world, all the crowd support in the world. Will this finally be their moment? We arrive at All Out, and it is here that we can finally take a look back at it all. Almost 2 years since the Acclaimed arrived on the scene. They were a thrown-together tag team. They were essentially a dark exclusive team that was mainly enhancement talent. Caster's raps got the team in hot water at one point and almost looked like the end of them. They didn't even start getting consistent TV time till late 2021. And yet, they have organically grown into one of the most over acts in wrestling. Their growth, natural talent, and overall charisma is unmatched right now. Anytime that siren sounds, arenas erupt. And tonight is no difference. The crowd is hot for them the entire time throughout. So much so that Swerve really starts to lean into his heel tactics in this match. The match starts off with impressive wrestling and some good back and forth between the two teams. A lot of moments where the two teams have to take a step back and admire one another's efforts. Swerve, however, is not so admirable. He openly taunts the trio, does the scissor taunt to Bowens as he's keeping Caster away from tagging out. Caster finally does manage to tag out, and it allows Bowens to go to work, but it's within this next sequence of moves that our story finally unfolds. Bowens goes for a move on Swerve off the second rope, but he slips and lands terribly on his knee. It becomes a concern as to whether he should continue, but since the match is yet to be called off, Swerve is going to take advantage as much as he can. As Bowens is on the outside consulting with Caster and Billy as what to do, Swerve dives out and adjusts at the last second so that he kicks Bowens' leg out. Instantly, that knee becomes the target for Swerve and Lee. Every move they do on Bowens is calculated to target that knee. It takes a blockbuster from the top rope for Bowens to create separation and finally tag out. It is now up to Caster to try and pull off the Herculean effort of taking on Lee and Swerve. At one point, him and Bowens are performing some tag team offense on Lee, but it's clear that Bowens' attacks just simply don't have the same impact. He's slower and not getting enough momentum behind him. This is perfectly illustrated when after all their combined offense, Keith Lee is still not worn down. Caster attempts an AA on him, but it's not enough. Keith Lee starts to get offense in and tries to perform the pounce on Max. But Caster moves out of the way at the last second and Swerve is hit instead. This opens the window for the Acclaim to pull off a tag move, and it looks like this is going to be the finish. And it's especially convincing because Swerve and Lee have had dissension teased essentially since the moment they became a tag team. It's not enough though as Keith Lee kicks out. Bowens and Lee go at it for a bit, but as this match goes on, the adrenaline is just simply wearing off. Bowens can barely stand, and he even collapses when he attempts a super kick, but he chooses the wrong leg to put the weight on. Lee knocks him down and tries to go for a top rope move, only for the Acclaim to pull off the crazy feat of suplexing him from the top. However, unbeknownst to Bowens, Swerve tagged in while they were hitting that move, and he's able to hit a top rope stomp onto Bowens. With Caster knocked out on the outside, there's nothing to save Bowens here, except for himself. Off of pure adrenaline, Bowens miraculously kicks out to a massive pop. This is shaping up more and more to be the night for the Acclaim. And this is further built upon when, to the awe of the crowd, Caster finally lifts Keith Lee up onto his shoulders for the attitude adjustment. The team hits the mic drop, and Bowens is the one that goes for the pin. This is it. The 2-year-long journey from enhancement talent to world champions has finally come to a close. 1, 2, but the 3 never comes. Keith Lee is able to break up the pin at the last second. Swerve then hits a Death Valley driver to Caster on the ring apron, effectively taking him out. The weight of the world now rests on this injured Atlas's shoulder. Bowens tries his hardest to fight, but it's clear the pain, anxiety, and stakes have clouded his judgment. He attempts an overhead move on Keith Lee, but he's caught. Keith Lee turns him to the powerbomb position, goes to the corner where Swerve awaits as they both hit their team finish of the foot stomp powerbomb. As the ref counts 1, in the corner is a glimmer of hope. Billy Gunn is there desperately trying to get Max Caster up to go break up the pin. At the same time though, you can see Billy subtly realizing Caster isn't going to get up in time. And he starts to question, should he interfere? If he stops the pin, the Acclaim will likely be disqualified. But it would mean they aren't defeated definitively and could potentially get a rematch. They don't have to watch themselves lose this match after giving their all. They don't have to lose this match and think this is all they're ever going to be. A team who never wins the big one despite all their efforts. As the ref counts 2, you see Billy begin to move. He realizes that their journey can't end here. Their story is not supposed to end like this. He moves, hoping to have enough time to slide into the ring and stop the count. But as the ref counts 3, Billy realizes he hesitated too long. However, it would not take long for the Acclaim to get their rematch. At AEW Grand Slam, the two teams would face off once again. Given this match takes place on TV though, there's a lot more restrictions at hand. For the viewer, you have to deal with commercials and picture-in-picture, and of course, there's time restraints. But this crowd is still hot for the Acclaim. The two teams go back and forth with offense. We can see a lot of retelling from their previous encounter. Caster is alone again at times and having to carry most of the workload. But with this match, we see a lot of the same story play out, but with a lot of the roles being mixed around. This time, it's Swerve who accidentally hits Keith Lee with the boombox and almost costs them the match. This time, it's Caster trying to go for an elbow drop and hurting his knee. But the biggest change is Billy Gunn. He is tired of Swerve's antics at this point. And this time, he isn't going to hesitate. As Swerve gets in his face, Keith Lee has to come and separate the two. As Keith Lee is walking away with the ref, Bowens attacks and sends Swerve to Billy Gunn. With the referee distracted, Billy lays in some hits and hits Swerve with a famouser. Billy throws him into the ring, where Bowens hits the Arrival, and despite the bad knee, Caster hits the mic drop. 1, 2, 3. Sound the alarm. That's Bowens. He's Platinum Max. They are critically acclaimed, and that is a fact.